Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. So happy to have any Aztecs in the shop. I'm an Aztec graduate many, many moons ago in journalism. And so, and I even got a master's with I think an emphasis was in journalism, but television and film as well back in the day. Mm-hmm. So we got Dani Bedau. She is Associate Professor of Theater for SDSU School of Theater, Television, and Film, and the Director of SDSU's production of Hamlet, joined by her colleague, friend, student, everything in between, Amelia Simpson, SDSU Theater Design and Technology, a major and the stage manager of the SDSU production of Hamlet. How you doing, Dani?
Doing very well. Thanks so much for having us.
Very, very good. How long have you been at SDSU?
19 years.
19 years. So did you work with Hayes Anderson?
No.
Okay, so then Hayes must have retired. Don Wiley, does that ring a bell?
No.
Okay, so those are guys that shows you how old I am in that aspect. They taught in TV and film many, many moons ago.
That was back when it was linked to journalism and before it was a School of Theater, Television, and Film.
Exactly. Yeah. You're under a PFSA? Is that where you're?
PSFA.
PSFA, yeah. Well, when Joyce was there, Joyce Gaddis.
Joyce Gaddis, absolutely.
Exactly. That's right, PSFA. And Amelia, how long you been at San Diego State?
3 years. I'm a junior right now.
Are you getting excited for June or May of 2026, I guess, right?
A little bit excited, also terrified down to my boots, but we live with that.
No. That's half the fun. So start with you on this, Dani. Have you always been interested in film and in TV and everything in between that, theater?
Theater, yeah, absolutely. I'm a teacher of theater. I don't have much experience in film and television.
Okay.
But yeah, been interested in theater since I was 16 when I discovered it in high school and studied Shakespeare at that time with an English teacher and actually, frankly, hated Shakespeare as a high school student. But then when I went on to Cal Arts and studied theater, studied acting, I sort of fell in love with what Shakespeare can do for a performer and the beauty of his language and all the rest of it.
So what can Shakespeare do for a performer? What did Shakespeare do for you?
Well, Shakespeare, I think, is one of the few works that allows the kind of rigor that an actor needs in many, many areas, including intellectually, spiritually, physically, emotionally. You have to really go to the limit as a performer in all of those areas. And lots of contemporary text covers a couple of those, but very few cover all of them. And so for me, as a performer myself, meeting Shakespeare and uncovering how to discovering and uncovering the language, excavating the language and really coming to understand what the words meant and then embodying them made a huge difference for me in my falling in love with Shakespeare. And then that's what I try to do with young student actors as well.
Right. So you were introduced to Shakespeare as in high school, correct? Mm-hmm. What was the play?
The first play I think I ever read was Hamlet.
Hamlet, okay. And what was the first play that you performed in that was a Shakespeare play?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it probably was Romeo and Juliet, Lady Capulet.
Okay, yeah. All right, very, very good. And Amelia, what got you interested in theater?
I was sort of acting for a long time as a kid in the way that kids do, where it's like, oh, it's a skit and you play a blackbird and you have 2 lines. But I started actually really engaging with theater in high school. I was acting and then I was also working behind the scenes, building sets, stage managing things. But I've been really invested in theater as a text for a long time because my mom is an English teacher. Her focus was American literature, but she always loved theater, specifically straight plays, Shakespeare, Tennessee Williams. And so I always grew up going to theater and going to plays, and it wasn't for a long time that I actually realized I could be a part of them. But then once I started, I sort of refused to stop and just put my foot on the pedal and kept going.
Amelia, where's your mom teach English?
My mom teaches English at beautiful Heritage High School in Brentwood, California. She's wonderful at her job.
As in which Brentwood, California?
Northern California.
Okay,
so
good.
Contra Costa
I
area.
grew up in Brentwood, L.A. So
Very different
Yes.
landscape, but
a little bit different. a little bit different in that area. So, Dani, tell me about what is the secret sauce to being a associate professor of theater? What makes you feel like you're doing what you need your students to learn?
Well, I think what I teach at SDSU is I primarily with performance students teach and direct Shakespeare.
Right.
And then I also teach future educators how to integrate theater into their classrooms. So that core student body tend to be liberal studies students or English single subject majors. And so it's really two quite different kinds of skills that I utilize in those two classrooms. One is really getting people who haven't had much experience with theater at all excited about theater on their feet for the first time, and really mostly they fall in love with how to use theater and how they might use it in their future classrooms. And then the Shakespeare that I do is largely with junior and seniors in the theater majors. And there are many of them coming to Shakespeare for the first time. That wasn't Amelia's situation. She'd had lots of exposure to Shakespeare, but many of the students who come to state and major in theater have had no experience with Shakespeare whatsoever, or just reading it in their high schools. And so I guess I really feel like I'm doing my job when I'm making it accessible to them. And also similarly, when I'm directing at SDSU, that we're making the plays accessible to the audience that are coming, who are also largely people who are seeing theater, maybe seeing theater and for sure seeing Shakespeare for the first time.
So let's talk about Hamlet, okay? Very apropos for the world we live in these days, right? Talk about it, how this production is going to be very, very cool and resonate with the students today and actually the audiences.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So our production of Hamlet is quite different than the traditional production. We're looking at it through the lens of family trauma. So how does trauma affect individuals, families, and societies? And we are thinking that what it does is it fractures people, it fragments them. And so Hamlet is actually played by 8 different actors who trade the role off throughout the course of the play. And another thing that's unusual at our production is that all of those people are female identifying.
Right.
So typically, as I'm sure many of your listeners will know, Hamlet is played by one actor, and that actor is typically a male identifying actor.
Right.
So, so we're having a lot of fun with it, and we're discovering that actually this interpretation, this idea really highlights the multiple personality really that Hamlet actually has. He's quite different in different segments of the play as he tries to wrestle with this horrible thing that's happened to him, which is that his father's been killed by his uncle, and his uncle has married his mom, which should be traumatizing, I think, to anyone. And so that's what we're focusing on with this production.
Right. We're chatting with Dani Bedau. She is the Associate Professor of Theater at the SDSU School of Theater, Television, and Film, the Director of SDSU's production of Hamlet, joined by Amelia Simpson, a junior at SDSU Theater Design and Technology major. She'll be graduating in May of 2026. She's the stage manager for the production of Hamlet. So how many times have you been a stage manager of a production?
A production stage manager, only about 3 or 4 times. It's a role that you don't get to come to particularly often, especially because I primarily work in the professional world.
Right.
And as a professional, if you're not an equity stage manager, often you're not working as a production stage manager. But I've been an assistant stage manager all across San Diego, at Signet Theater, at Oceanside Theater Company. At Signet, I was a stage manager for a reading. Anyways, but I've had the opportunity to get to work in a bunch of different spaces, which has been really exciting for me. I've done immersive theater pieces in cafes, and then I've also done pieces like Hamlet on these beautiful, massive stages. So I'm really excited to be able to get to work with this piece. It's a cast configuration, not like I've really worked with before. I've never had the opportunity to work with a cast that is so primarily women over such a long period of time. We've been able to spend almost 2 months now with these performers, and they're completely lovely. So I consider myself really lucky to be here and to be a part of this production.
Right. So, do you work with Ted Leib up at OCT? He's been involved up there after he's been on the show quite a bit, and also does stuff with Scripps Ranch Theater as well.
I didn't get much of an opportunity to. I was primarily working with Kevin, their artistic director, right now. Okay. But yeah, they're a wonderful group of people. Yeah,
it's phenomenal. What does a stage manager do?
Yeah, it's a complicated question because the answer is kind of everything, and also sometimes it feels like nothing. I consider my job managing and facilitating communication and collaboration between all the different departments. So I sort of follow the show from the beginning steps. I actually got unofficially assigned to this show more than a calendar year ago. Wow. I've been living with this play in my brain for a long time. But from the beginning of the production process, I'm there as a part of meetings. I'm there as a facilitator to make sure that I'm kind of taking the show and taking in the company, keeping them safe, keeping them all relatively content, making sure everybody has clear expectations and understandings for each other, and then bringing that to a production standpoint where once we get to performances, I'm running and calling the show. But I do a lot of things. I keep track of all of our blocking plans. I make sure that our actors are clear on their schedule and where they're supposed to be and when they're supposed to be there. And my assistant stage managers help me make sure that when we are actually in rehearsals and then in performances, everybody is where they need to be, and the show can run as it is planned to run.
Well, obviously, you work shoulder and shoulder with Dani, is that correct?
Yeah, I had the really wonderful opportunity to collaborate with her on a bunch of things that normally either get left to one department or the other. We worked really closely to build and then manage and continue to follow the rehearsal schedule because we worked on a really tight blocking timeline. I was able to help out in our early text understanding process, which was really exciting for me as a scholar and a student. And we've been able to just make sure that her vision gets executed clearly while also making sure that all of the students who are involved and all the faculty who are involved are able to do their jobs and have a fulfilling experience.
I'd like work with Amelia.
I love it. Amelia's amazing. And I would just also add that, she opted to enroll in the Shakespeare class that I teach in the fall. So we actually had the experience to get opportunity to get to know each other in working on that class. And she got to learn the process that I use, that I call line understanding, but it's really an excavation and embodiment process of the Shakespeare text. And then, as she just mentioned, she and a couple of other students actually were in a leadership capacity teaching that process in the rehearsals this year. And that's the first time I've done that. I've been teaching at SDSU for 19 years, but I've really gotten in the last 5 years very focused on Shakespeare. And so it's nice that this is the first time where I have this sort of deep bench of students who've really studied with me or been in a production with me who know the way that I engage the text. And so Amelia was one of several students that, as she mentioned, led the process. And that was really exciting for me. And then it's been amazing to have her. I mean, the stage manager really is kind of like the director's, right hand, or, right. Sometimes even there's more collaboration going on than that. And she also mentioned calling the show, and we were talking out in the lobby before we came in about, what is it, 180 light cues or something?
Yeah, I'm working with significantly more light and sound cues than you ordinarily have on a straight play because the artistic vision of our designers and the ideas that Dani brought to them initially in this process have been really exciting and much more high impact than design usually normally is in a straight play. So I've been able to do a bunch in the booth and a bunch with our designers that I don't normally get to outside of a musical.
Right. We come back from break. We want to talk a bit more. When is the performance? When is the production? How do people get to the production? And so forth. And then be thinking about what our listeners can do to support your efforts. Obviously, go to the production. But what else can they do to support what you're doing, Dani, and you as well? And Amelia, think about this when we come back from break. It is now 2035. And where is Amelia Simpson? What is she doing? The canvas is yours. So you think big, okay, on this. We return with our friends from the SDSU School of Theater, Television, and Film, Dani Bedau, Associate Professor of the Theater. She's also the Director of SDSU's production of Hamlet, joined by her colleague, Amelia Simpson, a junior in SDSU Theater Design. And She's a technology major and stage manager of the production of Hamlet. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast. 19 years we've been doing this, my goodness. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades of doing great things in San Diego County, from food insecurity to financial literacy and art and everything in between. We're going to be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Thrilled to have in the studio our friends from SDSU School of Theater, Television, and Film, Dani Bedau, Associate Professor of Theater and the Director of SDSU's production of Hamlet, joined by the stage manager of this production, Amelia Simpson. She's also a junior at SDSU Theater Design and Technology. So, Dani, I'll start with you on this. When is the production?
The production opens April 10th, and we play until the 19th. And tickets can be purchased on our website, the TTF, www.ttf.
SDSU,
something like that. You'll find it.
Google SDSU Theater, and you'll be able to find it.
Absolutely. Sorry about that.
No worries.
And so, and we have, it's a Thrust black box theater, so it's a very intimate setting. So it's likely that every production will sell out. So get your tickets right away if you want to come.
No, that sounds terrific. So this is a little bit of a unique production of Hamlet, as you said, right? 8, female identifying Hamlets, so to speak. How tough was that to direct that?
Yeah, it's definitely been challenging. I think one of the most challenging parts is that I've been working with a choreography consultant, Leslie Siders, who's also on faculty in the School of Dance at San Diego State University. And we've designed movement that's part of a pre-show experience, as well as transitions between when one Hamlet transitions to the next. And I think I didn't anticipate the amount of time that those transitions would take to build. And I think they add a tremendous amount for the audience in terms of storytelling, to be able to track, okay, who's got the sort of Hamlet mantle now? There's a beautiful cape that our costume designer, Anastasia, designed, and a crown and a dagger. There's these 3 objects that pass kind of ritualistically between the Hamlets. So it's really a dynamic part of the production. But I think, as a director, not having done that before, not having had 8 Hamlets before, I didn't anticipate, this is going to require some time and energy. So we had to build that in. And I think it's well worth it. But that was probably the biggest challenge. The performers themselves, it's been really exciting to have 8 people, and really the whole cast. There's 16 company members. We have an ensemble of 6 who are also understudying all the roles, and each Hamlet plays at least one other, sometimes 2 other characters. So it's been really lovely to have a whole company be able to talk about what is going on in this play and what is going on for Hamlet in this moment. That's not something an actor typically gets to do. They just sort of have to do that themselves or with the director.
Anyone done this type of version of Hamlet that you know of?
I do, actually. I'm a colleague of mine, Guy Roberts, who's the artistic director of Prague Shakespeare Company.
As in Prague, as in Czechoslovakia?
Yeah,
Okay,
I've
great.
worked for him a couple of years in a row now, and I take students, and actually Amelia is going to Prague this summer.
It's a beautiful
as a
city, by the way.
It is a
Yeah.
wonderful city.
Mhm.
And he's got this beautiful Shakespeare company there, and every summer
Interesting.
it's a summer Shakespeare intensive, and students and actors and professionals come from all over the world to Prague. And I've had the opportunity to work and direct there the last few years, and I saw a production that he did. He actually had 9 Hamlets, and it was actually only an hour long. And our production is 90 minutes and 8 Hamlets, and I've added some stuff back in that he had cut. But I definitely attribute a lot of the cut that I'm using definitely is influenced by that production that I saw.
Right. So, Amelia, on this, you have you performed in Hamlet before yourself?
I've not performed in Hamlet before in a full context. I've done pieces of scenes in different acting classes, but I primarily have interacted with this text as actually a director of a different piece as for Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead at one of SDSU's student theater organizations, which sort of takes 2 of the side characters and spirals off with them. It's a beautiful play by Tom Stoppard. But I primarily interacted with this text as the director of a piece that sort of metatextually is intertwined with it. So it was really exciting. I only did that last semester to then come in here and be working on it in a totally different context from a very different angle, but with some of the same people in a sort of similar community. So it's been really exciting for me. And I think having 8 people working on Hamlet has created a kind of community around the character and around the text that you don't normally get. It's not a one-man show by any means. There's an incredibly involved cast of characters around him, but he is speaking alone for a lot of the play. And so having 8 performers who get to sort of share that burden together and get to know that character together, I think is an incredibly enriching process.
So, question for you. Are you a stage manager, obviously, in Hamlet now? Are you a stage manager concurrently on any other performance?
Not currently. I am going to Prague as a stage manager this summer. So I'll be working on that coming up soon. But I sort of boggle between different roles depending on which production I'm working on. So I work as a stage manager a lot, but I also do work as a director, as a scenic painter, and a scenic designer. So I sort of go wherever the wind takes me, and whatever I find particularly engaging about a production, I'll do. I think the aspect of community and being able to work with the entire company, not just our actors on this piece, was really exciting for me. And it's one of the reasons why even literally last school year, when they were like, hey, would you want to work on Hamlet? It's this sort of concept. There are a bunch of different Hamlets. I went, yes, absolutely. Please get me involved in that. I don't care. Please put me on.
Well, I mean, the talent to be able to go back and forth, okay, on this is remarkable. Okay, now which role am I in now? Which Hamlet am I doing? What stage managing am I doing? Wait a second, I'm in artistic design in this one over here. I'm not sure how you switch this. People ask me all the time, well, listen, you're doing like 6 interviews a day. I mean, you went right from theater to now to sports. You went right to well, it's easy. I don't do anything. I'll just ask questions and let the pros do all this. Okay, it's 2035, Amelia Simpson. What are you doing?
I would love to be working with classical theater still in some regard. I love Shakespeare. I love a lot of his contemporaries, like Marlowe. And I love a lot of Greek theater that I've worked with in the past. I think it's incredibly valuable to be able to work with text that humanity kind of brought us hundreds of years ago and that still feels relevant and emotionally resonant. I think there's something really connecting about that. And so I'd love to continue working on it in any regard, but any way that I can continue to engage with performers and designers really looking at the text and digging into it. I came to theater kind of as a form of literary analysis, and I'd love to continue interacting with it like that.
So do we see Amelia Simpson theater production company in the future somewhere?
It has been floated to me.
Good. Good.
Not by anyone who would pay me to do it, but by a lot
Not
of
yet.
professors who think that I should.
I think
so
you should.
I'll keep you tuned on any funding I'm able to discover.
One of our favorite lines on our Spotlight show for 19 years, I can say, I knew you when, in this aspect. Dani, what else can we do to support your efforts?
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're always looking for anybody who wants to, contribute financially to the School of Theater, Television, and Film. And you can also do that on the same website where you can purchase tickets. Also just wanted to put in a plug for the fact that this particular production will have a free student matinee for K-12 audiences. Actually, we're bringing in 2 schools, a high school that is Central Union High School, 90 students from Central Union and 40 students from Longfellow Spanish Immersion Middle School.
Nice.
Will be coming the morning of the 18th of April for a 10 a.m. show. They are bussed in. Their tickets are provided for free, and we do a talk back with the actors after the show and give them a tour of the theater building and a little bit of the campus. And so that's another thing that we always are looking for. Contributors who might want to sponsor those buses or sponsor those tickets that the students are provided for free. That's an offering that we try to do annually when we do a Shakespeare play, or actually anything that I do, because as you mentioned, I'm the head of youth theater. So
Right.
I'm always trying to bring in students to campus to have those experiences or touring them out so students can see them in the schools themselves.
Well, in this day and age, I can't applaud you guys enough. We need more art and theater and production and laughter and everything in between in this crazy world we're in. It'll get uncrazy. I'm not sure if we ever want it uncrazy. I don't know on this, but wish you nothing but great success. I'm sure we'll have you folks back on somewhere down the road to see how you're doing, not just with obviously Hamlet, but other productions as well. So Dani and Amelia, thanks for coming in and giving your time.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely my pleasure. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest running community podcast. We're in year 19, brought to you by the very cool folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things for people living in San Diego County. We hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.